Let's go on to the second question here, and maybe it'll touch on the first one, which is probably the meatiest of the questions for today. Coach BigFace, speaking of Zero Gaming, Coach BigFace having been their amateur coach, did a great job with them all pre-draft and all post-draft last year too. He says, no need to develop strategy, so a simple yes or no suffices. Does your outlook on how you approach the draft change if the formatting of the league schedule mirrors last year as opposed to separating 3s and 5s? And let me take this one first, if you don't mind, Len.
Yeah.
It's a cliche, but you got to play the schedule in front of you. And I think we're actually going to touch a lot more on this one, because what this one really becomes is a roster construction question, which the league has not fully described publicly yet. So we're not going to touch on that, obviously. And it becomes very much a roster construction question. I would say in general, you got to play the schedule in front of you no matter what. And maybe there are a couple different things you can do here and there, but it's the same number of games at the end of the day, for the most part. And it's the same ratio of 3s and 5s. And again, for those who might be new to the league, last year the league alternated. They would play a tournament of 5-on-5 and then a tournament of 3-on-3 and then back to 5-on-5, et cetera, et cetera. And again, with the league still yet to put out exact details, I don't want to say anything in particular, but I think it just comes down to you play the schedule that is in front of you, and you're drafting for 6 months one way or another, no matter what the schedule is. So you got to draft for 6 months and just play the schedule that's in front of you, and your draft has to optimize the 6 months, not any shorter period of time.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting part, right? It's like players that specialize in either format, I don't think when you consider time or length of the season, create more of a benefit for, that full 6 months, regardless if 3s is first, regardless if 5s is first, regardless if they're interchangeable tournament to tournament. I think more so just how I still view it. And I may still be off base with this, but that's kind of how it is, right? You have visions and ideologies, and that's what competing is all about and trying to get a leg up. But in my opinion, I feel like within the game mode that everyone is forced to play, I typically favor more so players that specialize in that format and can translate their skill set over to the format where only 3 players play. Uh, I don't know if that necessarily answers the question as far as strategy due to formatting. To Josiah's point, yeah, there are some things within what the format was last year and what the format will be this year, in which roster construction can vary, and you can potentially draft differently, as far as like players that specialize in a specific format compared to last year, and then potentially pivot off of that. But they're as
As
far as
always,
yeah,
it comes down to an individual team, and
yeah,
as much as we're speaking for teams in a sense here, this is a very particular, very nuanced question, and so it very much comes down to the team. But I think looking back at the rosters that were had, I think the overall consensus seems to be a no. But again, this is something I think we'll touch on a bit more in the next episode. So stick around and tune back in for that, doing our little self promotion for episode 2.